What is up and welcome back. We are your Colorado real estate family. In this video right here, we're going to be talking about why people are choosing not to live in Denver. Instead, people are choosing to live in a few of these cities on the outskirts of Denver.
All right, we're not going to cover the exact population or anything like that for the city, but we are going to cover the increase in percentages because I think it kind of tells a story.
Yeah, I think we picked, it was like 5 or 6 cities that are increasing in population. All of these are since 2020. The funny thing though is there really wasn't too many that were on the front range. So the majority of the time when we talk to you guys want to be right up in the foothills, right? These ones actually decrease in population, but we're going to go over, I think it's like 6 cities that have increased in population in the Denver metro, not being Denver.
All right, you're probably asking, well, what is the increase of Denver? Well, it's negative 0.6%. So it's not even positive. We're not seeing growth in the city of Denver specifically. Colorado is still seeing a lot of people move into it, but it's not in that city. Let's cover some of the top ones that are. We're actually going to go from the lowest all the way up. That way it's kind of exciting because it'll show you which one is experiencing the fastest growth. All right, let's start with that first city. So since 2020, the growth percentage has been 1.27 for Thornton, Colorado. So that is the lowest growth, but still making the top, which is crazy. Thornton has come a long way.
Yes.
The second city with the largest growth is Aurora. It's going to be at 3.32%. This one we kind of expected to make the list because of all the new development.
The funny thing is when I was looking up these stats though, and you just like Google like fastest growing cities in the Denver metro or in Colorado, it says Aurora is the #1, but we are basing these numbers based off of since 2020, and it's not growing as fast as a few of these other cities are growing a little bit quicker since that 2020 era.
All right, the third is going to be Broomfield, which is exciting because it's a north city, which we are seeing a lot of growth in the north. So this is 2 cities now in the Denver Metro North, which we've been talking about with you guys for a couple years now, that we are starting to see it spread this direction. So Broomfield comes in at a growth of 4.2% since 2020.
Yeah, and this is the only city that I looked up. There might be some small cities or something like that on the west side of I-25, but this is the only city on the west side of I-25 that has experienced that positive growth. I'm sure actually Boulder might be down to, I don't know. I didn't look up any of those cities, but this is the only one that we researched on that west side of I-25.
Fourth city is going to be Parker, which comes in at 6.47. This is kind of no surprise, honestly. Parker is gorgeous, and we are seeing a lot of growth. It has good schools. So it is one of those cities that we have seen desirability not only on the stats, but also with clients coming into town. Now, the fifth, but also the second fastest growing city is Commerce City. Guys, it came in at the growth of 10.71%. Commerce City, guys, okay? Commerce City was not the city that we ever anticipated would be seeing the growth.
Pretty much the top reason that Commerce City is growing as fast as it is. Make sure they hang around towards the end of this video. We're going to tell you why Commerce City is growing in the way that it is.
Now, the fastest growing city at, I guess the increase would be 18.12%. is Castle Rock, Colorado, which
this is a
no-brainer. Castle Rock is so beautiful. We've been helping so many people, not only actually the people that we've been helping sell their homes and move are still relocating in Castle Rock, okay? They're not leaving Castle Rock for the most part. They're just finding new homes in Castle Rock, or maybe they were renting and then now they're, finally purchasing. But a ton of our out-of-state buyers are coming to Castle Rock. It's going to be, a lot of our retirees will choose Castle Rock. Like, this is kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. Castle Rock's been blown up like crazy. Actually, Castle Rock and I'd say Colorado Springs are the 2 hottest spots in Colorado right now. Obviously, we're not going to break into Colorado Springs because that is not in the Denver metro area, but be on the lookout because Colorado Springs is supposed to overtake Denver's population by the year 2050. That shows you how desirable these beautiful suburbia areas are becoming in Colorado.
Okay, I have something to say on that really quick. I'm going to put like a projection out there. I foresee that it might actually decrease in popularity because Colorado Springs was kind of always its quaint little town. People really liked that. I'm curious to see how that's going to be perceived, like as it starts to grow and become
just because they predict this doesn't mean it's gonna going to happen. So we'll see what happens throughout the years. 2050 is a long ways away, so we'll see if it actually happens. That's just what projections are showing right now. The second thing why people are not choosing Denver from what we are seeing, and this one might get a little controversial, just know that we are not throwing our personal views in this. It's what we are seeing when we're reading news articles and all this stuff, is the migrants that are relocating into Denver right now. They are vastly taking over the resources of the city, and people do not like that. In fact, there was 40,000 new migrants that relocated into Denver just in January. And when you have a city who's got a population of like 750,000 people, that's a huge thing to add that many people in just 1 month's time. With that many people coming in, Denver right now is spending $3.5 million per week. They're projecting, if it continues at the rate it's at, they're going to spend $180 million this year on the migrants that are coming into Denver. I think they say that's like 10% more than the budget of Denver, Colorado.
One of the things that we are seeing with this is Denver's kind of starting to talk about how they might actually have to make cuts for some of the city services to even accommodate kind of these big shifts.
Also, the school district over there is at like an $18 million shortfall with all the new kids that are getting added. The thing about it is there was a declining, student roll or whatever it was in Denver public schools, and now it's just like vastly exceeding what their expectations were, but the money isn't quite there. And so there's a few things that people are like, you know what, not liking this scenario, and they're moving on the outside of Denver instead of into the heart of Denver.
Another area that we're seeing kind of, this way is going to be at Denver Health. They're actually kind of needing like not more resources. We're just seeing people kind of freak out about how are we going to care for all of these people? Do we have the infrastructure? Do we have the resources? And really just pulling in, and it is becoming a hot topic, which obviously is making a lot of locals nervous, especially those who reside in Denver.
The third reason why we are seeing that people are relocating these cities on the outskirts of Denver is pretty much the congestion and the lack of room that you do have in the city of Denver. And so they're like, you know what? I'd rather have this like suburbia lifestyle instead of this big city lifestyle, something that we are hearing so many times from those of you who are relocating into the Denver metro area.
Talking about that whole, congestion and lack of newness. When we see Denver, we see scrapes and things being torn down to kind of get that new feel, which they are doing the best that they possibly can and doing a really good job if you're looking for city life. Yeah. Now, when they're moving out and choosing suburbia in these newer, we have new developments now. This is where brand new, from the ground, building up. That's super helpful, and it just feels newer because you don't have as much, how do you say, like, it's not as spotty, I would say, don't you think?
Yeah, it's not as spotty. It's not a ton of renovation happening. Yeah. It's just a brand new area. So we're talking about, your shopping malls or even housing developments, any of the stuff, it's all brand new. And there is an appeal to that brand newness, not having to worry about the older infrastructure. Right. We used to talk about this a lot, how old the infrastructure is in Denver. Yes. And people are like, you know what, I'm having to replace my sewer lines on these houses. I'm having to do, brand new wiring, all this new stuff. Where they're like, or I could just buy a house that's like either new or even like 10, 20 years old. Don't have to worry about any of that, and I have a brand new shopping mall just right across the street.
I think this is honestly why Aurora made one of those top things, is because if you know anything about Aurora, it does touch Denver, and so with the highway, I-70 going out, you do feel pretty close to the city, but you still get all those new amenities.
Yep. And then when they are choosing these outlying areas, that commuter rail really gives you that connection into Denver, where before you were having to deal with that, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock a.m. drive. But now you could just move next to a commuter rail station, and it's like, all right, cool, I'll just ride my bike over there and take the commuter rail down, take the commuter rail back. That way you're not having to deal with that traffic. The commuter rail was more concentrated more in your South Denver metro area, but it is starting to expand a little bit more in the northern Denver metro area. And so that's why people are like, why would I live in that craziness of downtown Denver when I could just be in that commuter rail, take it straight there? And so many of you guys who are moving here are choosing that.
You know what I was just thinking when you were saying that?
What's that?
It's funny because we were kind of like, yay, some North Metro cities have made the list. Thornton got the new commuter rail in Eastlake. Mm-hmm. Westminster now has their commuter rail, and it's expected to go to Broomfield. So I'm wondering if that's why people are choosing some of these north areas, whereas before it has been really heavily dense, in the south.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, we talk about this all the time, how the Denver Metro North is all so brand new. And so that's why they're like, we're going to put these stations in these few areas right here where they already could put the infrastructure in place. They're not having to tear up old to put in the new. All right, the fourth reason, and this is probably one of the top things that when you guys are contacting us, is you're like, what school districts are the best? Obviously, we can't tell you our personal opinion. We can always relate everything to niche.com. So we look at niche.com, and so Denver Public Schools is actually rated a B. And you're like, hey, you know what, that's not bad. Right. But then we look at a few of these other counties on the outskirts who do have a better grade.
When we are talking about those top three kind of, districts surrounding Denver, we're talking about Douglas, Cherry Creek, and Jefferson County. So what do they rate in comparison to Denver? Douglas RE1 is going to be an A-, Cherry Creek is an A, and then Jefferson R1 is also an A-.
Yep.
The other thing that we'll see in all of these gradings, so yeah, Denver is not that bad at a B, but Denver also has a lot more schools. So that's something that I always tell you when you're looking at districts, is to go over on the left-hand side. Once you get to the district, go down to map, and then you're able to zoom in at all the schools within the district, because I think it's important to also know how many schools are being kind of compiled into that overall grade.
And obviously one that we left out, and I typically don't consider Boulder being a part of the Denver metro area,
Right.
but Boulder County School District is a part of Broomfield. A lot of Broomfield will go over into that school district. That is also going to be rated, I didn't pull it up, but I think it's like A. It might even be an A+. It's one of those spots that so many people always want to be near. I want to be in that Boulder County School District.
Yeah, that's good to point out that it is 2 districts there.
Yep.
All right, and the 5th reason, which honestly I geek out about, I'm super excited. I think Denver does a fantastic job. Colorado does a fantastic job when it comes to this, and the reason is these master plans and city centers.
Yeah, it's insane. So what you have is all these cities that are like, you know what? Denver has that appeal of having that big city, kind of that urban lifestyle that everyone wanted.
And that community togetherness.
Yeah, that community togetherness, this whole thing. And so they started building, like, you got Westminster downtown, you got downtown Superior, you got Baseline, Arista, all these areas that are like blowing up, and they're made to pretty much make you feel like you're in that city lifestyle, that urban lifestyle. And so a lot of people are like, yeah, you know, I can still kind of get that vibe here. Yes, it is not the large city of downtown Denver. It kind of fills a few of those needs that those of you who are looking for that urban lifestyle are looking for.
Yeah, and the other thing is typically when you move into like a suburban area, people miss that walkability. Mm-hmm. And that like master plan / city center type living gives that walkability back. So if you are wanting to go to a restaurant and you know you can walk there from a lot of these communities, especially things like Arista and Baseline. Mm-hmm. But those are things that people really like, is that, you know, I don't want to have to drive everywhere I go. Or, hey, I just paid $70 for a date and I don't want to have to drive another 30 minutes to get downtown. Like, I just want to walk down the street to our favorite little local, you know, place, because Colorado's all local. They love local. Yeah. And so when these little mob pods or just cool little restaurants pop up in these like city centers surrounded by the suburbia, people are loving that.
Yeah, and so even if you don't have these city centers dedicated like a lot of these other cities are, Thornton has like the Denver Premium Outlets. That's pretty much like a city center because everything is building in and around that area right there. And so you have like the Orchard Town Mall or Orchard Town Center Outdoor Mall right across the street in Westminster. This whole area that's blowing up, and they're trying to embrace the fact that it's like, yes, you don't get that urban here in the suburbia, but we are going to kind of bring it to you.
Well, and same with Thornton's going to have East Lake. That's coming. I know it's coming. Like, I just can't wait to cover it when it's you know, completely built out. It has a good little vibe. We also are seeing these little patio style livings and like little, so say for instance over in Thornton in the new area, there'll be like a chunk of land on a corner, and we're seeing little development of those same things, that walkability to these neighborhoods with like, you know, patio options for eating out. So we are seeing them embed them in these communities that maybe don't have the walkability, but they will put 1 or 2 or a little 5-town center in there to accommodate the other residents.
And then these master plans is huge. Believe me. I mean, the master plans in Colorado, it is a huge thing. And so you got Anthem, Aurora Highlands, you got Layden Rock, Candelas. I mean, there's too many to list. This is such a thing where it brings that community together, right? Where you have these community centers. Like Anthem, I think it has like 3 pools, 3 different pools that you can go to.
And walking
parks,
paths,
walking paths. Baseline, although
it's
Baseline's technically not a master plan, but they're kind of trying to make it into a master plan style thing where you have all those amenities, but still have a community where you really don't have to leave. It's like, oh, cool, the kids want to go swimming. I don't have a pool in the backyard because they're really not that common here in Colorado in their backyard. But they just like go to these community pool centers, and they're everywhere. I didn't realize how many master plans are in Colorado until you really start driving around.
I think it also is less intimidating for people driving in or coming in from another state or even other countries to not have to manage those amenities. I think that's really important. They want to, they're kind of intimidated by our 4 seasons. And so they're like, oh gosh, you know, with a pool, we talk about, they're like, well, I want a pool, but you know, what about in the wintertime? And what about this? You know, how hard is it to manage it? Does it change all the time? Because of our 4 seasons, people love having those amenities, but they also don't want to take care of it. They would rather pay, and that's something that we look at is what am I paying for? But they would rather pay so they could still have that lifestyle without actually having to manage it.
All right, guys, glad we could cover this video for you. Obviously, Denver has so many great things about it, but we have been seeing a trend where so many of you are choosing to live on the outskirts of Denver, not necessarily in the city of Denver. If you are looking at calling Colorado your home, give us a call, text that phone number right below. Right below it there, we have assembled the best team of realtors to help you out with all your real estate needs.
And don't worry, if you're not ready or you're like kind of just feeling it out, do yourself a favor and at least hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and also hit that notification bell, because it's never too early to start familiarizing yourself with all the different cities that we cover. We try to give you kind of the whole thing, and by doing that, so this is a great place to start.
All right, guys, we love you. And until next time, bye.
Bye.
And you are planning on making a move into the Denver, Colorado metro area? No.
I thought you were done.
No.
Now this one, fifth, oh wow. Growth of 10.4, nope.